Beloved, listen to me carefully. The moments just before you fall asleep are not ordinary moments. They are spiritual gateways, and what you allow into your heart at that time has the power to influence your peace, your rest, and even the direction of your life. When the body becomes quiet, the spirit is still alert. That is why the enemy often tries to bring fear, regret, or worry at night. But faith understands something powerful. The night belongs to God just as much as the day does. When you approach sleep with prayer, you are not performing a ritual, you are exercising faith. You are placing your trust deliberately in God's care. The Word teaches us to cast our cares upon the Lord, not because problems disappear instantly, but because faith refuses to carry burdens it was never designed to hold. When you pray before sleep, you are aligning your heart with God's promises instead of your circumstances. Peace does not come from exhaustion. Peace comes from trust. As you speak God's word over your mind, your thoughts come into order. Fear loses its grip. Anxiety loosens its hold, and rest begins to flow naturally. In that quiet moment, faith takes the lead, and the soul learns to rest in God's faithfulness rather than human effort. Faith does not drift into sleep carrying worry, pressure, or unanswered questions. Faith was designed to release, not to hold on. When night comes, it is not a signal to replay the problems of the day, but an invitation to place them into God's hands. Many people lie down physically, yet remain mentally awake because their cares are still active. But the Word teaches that trust is an act of obedience, not a feeling. Casting your cares is something you do on purpose. You choose to hand over concerns about tomorrow, finances, health, family, and decisions that seem unresolved. God never intended the human mind to solve life while lying in bed. That burden belongs to Him. When you deliberately release every care in prayer, you are declaring that God is bigger than what troubles you. Fear loses its authority the moment trust is spoken. Anxiety cannot dominate a heart that has decided to believe. Faith speaks rest before rest is felt. As you pray, your inner man responds to truth even if emotions lag behind. The night becomes a place of safety rather than struggle. Your mind begins to quiet because it recognizes that responsibility has shifted. You are no longer the keeper of the outcome. God is. Sleep then becomes an expression of faith, a silent confession that you trust God to work while you rest. Before you sleep, you must transfer every care, every burden, and every fear from your own hands into God's hands. Too many people attempt to carry the weight of the day into the night, thinking they can solve tomorrow's problems while they lie in bed. That is not how faith works. Faith releases, faith trusts, and faith acts in agreement with God's promises. The moment you place your worries before Him in prayer, you are stepping into peace. You are acknowledging that God is in control, that He hears and that He is able. Your mind, which may have been racing with doubt or worry, begins to find rest because you are aligning yourself with truth rather than circumstance. When burdens are surrendered, anxiety loses its grip. The body may be tired, but the spirit can only rest when the mind is aligned with faith. Each worry you cast onto God is like laying down a stone you were never meant to carry. Your heart begins to feel lighter because your spirit is now in agreement with God's word. You are no longer attempting to hold together what only God can manage. In this transfer of trust, the night becomes a classroom of faith, teaching your soul to depend entirely on God's wisdom and power. You must understand that faith does not carry worries into the night. Faith casts them off. Many believers fail to experience true rest because they allow fear, doubt, and anxiety to follow them into bed. Faith works differently. Faith releases, it does not cling. When you pray before sleep, you are making a deliberate choice to refuse the enemy's lies and to embrace God's promises instead. The Word teaches that God gives His beloved rest, but rest comes as a response to trust. It is not automatic. It must be received by faith. As you confess God's Word, over your life, declaring His protection, His provision, and His care, your spirit begins to align with truth. Every worry, every burden, every thought of what might go wrong is surrendered to Him. You are not pretending problems do not exist, but you are refusing to allow them to dominate your heart. This act of faith shifts your focus from circumstances to the Creator. Your mind, which may have been restless, begins to calm. Your emotions, which may have been agitated, begin to settle. Even while your body is preparing for sleep, your spirit is strengthened, learning to rest in God's authority and to rely on His power rather than your own understanding. When you pray before sleep, you are declaring that your home, your mind, and your body are under God's protection. The Word says that angels are assigned to watch over the children of God, and faith activates that protection. Many people go to bed without realizing that the night can be a battlefield, that the enemy prowls seeking to steal rest, peace, and joy. But when you speak faith-filled prayer, you are not inviting fear, you are commanding divine oversight. Every area of your life is covered as you declare God's word over it. Your mind, which may have been troubled by doubts or what-ifs, is renewed by your confession. Your heart, which may have been heavy with burdens, is lightened as you surrender every concern to the Lord. Even your body participates in this supernatural rest, responding to the peace that faith produces. By calling on God's protection, you are also affirming that no weapon formed against you can prosper, that no darkness has authority over the child of God, and that divine order is greater than human confusion. Faith does not wait for circumstances to change before it rests. It rests in the assurance of God's promises, knowing that His presence surrounds, His power protects, and His word never fails.